The next topic in control flow loops is very interesting because it covers infinite loops. So here the right hand side is C code and left hand side is Rust code. So the while block in C code is an infinite loop. So here count variable is 1 and 1 is less than 10. So this expression evaluates to true, and while of 1 is true, it enters the while loop and prints the count and continues forever, because count, to break the condition, count has to be greater than or equal to 10. That means count has to be incremented here, right? And that condition is forgotten or missed. So count incrementing count is missed. So this causes an infinite while loop, an accidental infinite while loop. So there are intentional while loops as well. For example, if we want intentional infinite while loop, something like this can be done. While of 1. Right. So similarly, if we want infinite loop through for loop, so we can do something like this. Right. So these both are intentional infinite loops using while of 1 and for loop in this format without an exit condition. So however, if you notice, same while keyword is used for the normal loop case, or the infinite case. The same for keyword is used for normal looping or infinite looping. So because of which it can cause accidents like this, right? This is an accidental infinite while loop. So Rust has a solution for this. So Rust design says, hey, your intention need to be clear. If you want infinite loop, then Rust provides loopback mechanism using loop keyword. So if loop keyword is used, it means this is an infinite loop by intention. So the syntax is something like this: loop, opening brace, closing brace, and logic. So to exit out of the infinite loop at some point of time, break can be used. So if you see, after loop keyword, there is no condition here. So here while has a condition, right? Even for loop also comes with something inside, right? But however, this loop has no conditions here, right? It's completely blank. It means it does not require anything to enter this loop, and this itself means it's an infinite loop. Okay, so we can execute this program. So this program, C program, cannot be executed because it can hang the system. So however, even though this is an infinite loop in Rust, because it has a break which demonstrates that break can be used to exit the infinite loop, so we will execute this program. So it printed inside and outside. So inside the loop, intentional infinite loop, and outside is when it exits out of it. Okay, now let's see why are infinite loops necessary, right? Let's take some use cases. The first use case we can take is our favorite mobile phones, right? So our mobile devices have got several software components and several infinite loops running on each of them, so that the touch screen always works, or the incoming calls always work, or button presses work, or network Wi-Fi activity works, or notifications work, or there are sensor events, battery events, etc., etc. Right? That's one example. Maybe second example we can take is about an ATM machine. So the ATM machine constantly waits for customers all 24 hours and processes the transaction. It returns to the welcome screen and then waits for another customer. So the ATM machine software definitely has several infinite loops in different components of software. The third one example we can take familiar to us is elevator. Right, elevator, it has to continuously check for button requests and which floor you want to go to. It has got some floor sensors and door status and then movement commands, all of this, right? So these also run for 24 hours and 24 bar 365, unless there is an outage for some unknown reason. Okay, the next one maybe we can say vending machine. Right, so vending machine also, it has to wait for money or card and then for the product selection, then for dispensing, and then returns to the idle state. Next maybe we can say gas stations, similar, right? So they are also working 24 hours. So they also have to take money or card and product selection here also, like gas, which quality of gas we want, and then how many liters, and then dispensing, and then returning to welcome menu again. So these are some of the examples where infinite loops are very much used. Another like few other embedded usages we can mention is, say about in almost all firmware or embedded programs and devices, the main control loop always runs to the lifetime of the device itself. And see and also right, worker threads, they continuously take jobs from queues or any polling hardware, right? They repeatedly check for registers, sensors, device states, etc., etc. Or if there are any event loops, they also continuously wait and process events. So infinite loops are so necessary, and Rust makes one more nice upgrade to this. So in this case, the infinite loop, this loop can return a value. This is an expression, it can return a value. So there is a let binding here and it can return a value. So because it's a let binding, it should end with a semicolon. So it can return with a value, say break 10. So this is just an example. So generally, why is it useful? Why do we need to return a value here? So it can return two kinds of values. One is, say, error status. So supposing the loop is running forever and the device becomes very hot and it has to power off now. So in such cases, it returns an error code. Okay, what made the system loop to break down? That is one case. So in normal cases, it can also return status codes, like good status code. So for example, ATM waiting for a pin, right? So those loops, right, need not be waiting on some count like 100, 200, like that. So it keeps on waiting for valid pin. So once the valid pin is added within the attempts, then it can break with the success value and say, hey, authentication is complete. It can exit out of the authentication loop and then proceed to next processing logic. Right, so that's why let result is you can be used. So loop can return a value. So we can actually check this. Let's try to print it out and see result. Let's compile this code. See, inside and 10 is returned and it prints 10. So in summary, loop is the keyword used for intentional infinite loop, and it's very useful and it can return a value.